Have you ever felt destined for something much greater, but an invisible force seems to hold you back? Like there's a part of you that you can't quite explain, preventing you from moving forward? Maybe it's the shadows you carry, and ignoring them could cost you your very destiny. Now is the time to confront your shadows or risk never fulfilling the purpose you were meant for. This video isn't for everyone. It's for those who feel they have a unique mission, something grand waiting for them, but who remain paralyzed by fears, doubts, and internal limitations. Why do so many of the chosen let their shadows defeat them? You might have wondered, why do I keep making the same mistakes? Why can't I move forward even though I know I'm capable of more? The answer lies within you, and in this video, we'll show you how to recognize it, confront it, and more importantly, overcome it. Believe me, you're not here by accident. This is the moment to turn the key and unlock the inner power you've always known you had, but never knew exactly how to use. Today, you'll discover that your biggest enemies are inside you, and that facing them is the only way to truly transform your life. But beware, this content isn't for the faint-hearted. It's for those ready to look their shadows in the eye and turn them into their greatest source of power. Are you ready for this confrontation? Then keep watching, because what comes next could change the course of your journey forever. We all have shadows, but for the chosen ones, these shadows carry special weight because they can determine the success or failure of their mission. The first step on this journey is to recognize these dark aspects that manifest as fears and limitations. Fears that have often built up over years and hide in the deepest corners of your subconscious. What paralyzes you? The fear of failing, of being judged, of not being good enough. By identifying these shadows, the chosen one begins to pave the way for their true mission. But how can you recognize these shadows when many of them act so subtly, almost invisibly? It all starts with a simple inward look, without judgment. When we take the time to observe ourselves, we start to notice patterns of self-sabotage, insecurities, and limiting beliefs that we've carried since childhood or absorbed from the world around us. Have you ever found yourself avoiding an opportunity because you felt inadequate? Could it be that you're preventing yourself from fulfilling your destiny? Recognizing these blocks isn't a sign of weakness, but an act of courage. The chosen one understands that each fear identified is a gateway to self-knowledge. Imagine yourself in a dark room where each fear and limitation is a shadow cast on the walls. As you identify a shadow, the light within you begins to grow, illuminating a larger part of the room. The process of recognizing your shadows doesn't weaken you. On the contrary, it's the first step in transforming the unknown into a powerful ally. Now think for a moment. What shadows have you been avoiding facing? What parts of you have been controlling you without your awareness? Dealing with these shadows can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. The sooner you confront them, the faster you can move forward on your journey. But remember, recognizing the shadows is just the beginning. To transform them, you need to go beyond observation, and that's where self-knowledge comes in, the key to the next step. After recognizing the shadows, the next step for the chosen ones is to dive deeply into self-knowledge. Without this understanding, the path ahead becomes cloudy, and the shadows can easily regain control. Self-knowledge acts like an internal compass, guiding the chosen one through the challenges of their journey. After all, how can you fulfill a greater mission if you don't understand who you really are, what motivates you, what paralyzes you, or what awakens your true potential? For a chosen one, self-knowledge goes beyond simply understanding your emotions or fleeting thoughts. It's about comprehending the deeper layers of your essence, your motivations, values, beliefs, and even the traumas that have shaped your worldview. For example, why do certain obstacles seem bigger than they are? What sparks your confidence? Knowing these patterns is what helps the chosen one stay focused on their mission without being distracted by internal or external noise. Often, self-knowledge reveals not only the bright aspects of your personality, but also the shadows that still need to be integrated. It's a continuous process of self-observation and adjustment. And this process isn't linear. It requires patience and courage to look inside, to question intentions, resistances, and the reasons behind certain choices. Think for a moment. Is the fear you feel there to protect you or to teach you something? What if you could understand that fear clearly without being dominated by it? The chosen one who commits to self-knowledge finds the strength needed to advance on their journey. Each step toward internal clarity opens new doors and provides new tools to face the challenges ahead. And as you get to know yourself better, you'll be more prepared to tackle the next inevitable challenge, your doubts and insecurities. After all, knowing your shadows is one thing, but facing and overcoming them requires a new level of courage and determination. Now that the chosen one knows their shadows and understands their deeper motivations, it's time to tackle one of the most common and paralyzing obstacles on the journey: doubts and insecurities. Even those with a clear mission often find themselves overwhelmed by inner voices asking, "Am I capable?" or "Am I on the right path?" These questions are natural, but for the chosen ones, they can turn into seemingly insurmountable walls if not properly addressed. Doubts and insecurities can pop up at different times, especially when the chosen one faces bigger or more complex challenges than expected. This is the moment when many give up or hesitate, but it's also where true transformation happens. The chosen one needs to understand that these doubts aren't signs of impending failure, but indicators of growth. The bigger the challenge, the greater the opportunity to build resilience. The question isn't whether you'll face these doubts, but how you'll handle them. What's your strategy for turning these internal barriers into motivation for action? To overcome these obstacles, the chosen one can adopt practices that boost self-confidence and mental clarity. One effective method is visualization meditation, where they imagine themselves overcoming obstacles that once seemed unbeatable. Another important practice is self-compassion, allowing themselves to acknowledge that no one has all the answers and that doubt is a natural part of the growth process. By looking at insecurities with kindness instead of judging themselves for having them, they realize these doubts lose their power to paralyze. Think about it. Even the wisest people face doubts. What sets the chosen one apart is the courage to keep moving forward despite them. Over time, doubts and insecurities can become your greatest allies. They serve as reminders that you're stepping out of your comfort zone and moving into a new phase of self-discovery. The chosen one who overcomes these internal barriers not only strengthens their own journey, but also becomes a living example for those around them. Now the next challenge is deeper, not just overcoming the shadows, but integrating them. How can you turn those parts of yourself that seem to weaken you into sources of strength? The most challenging part of the chosen one's journey has arrived: confronting their shadows head-on and integrating them in a healthy way. While recognition and self-knowledge are fundamental, true power emerges when the chosen one learns to transform these dark parts into allies. The shadow doesn't disappear, it transforms. Confronting it means facing your deepest fears, insecurities, and flaws, and realizing that all these parts of you can also work in your favor. There are several practical strategies for this integration. One of the most powerful is shadow work, which involves deep reflection and self-analysis. During these practices, the chosen one should ask themselves, what is this dark part trying to teach me? Perhaps an apparent weakness is actually a sign of where you need to focus your attention to grow. Meditation is another powerful tool for confronting your shadows. Meditating with the intention of observing these dark aspects without judgment can provide deep insights, allowing the chosen one to make peace with these hidden sides of themselves. Another effective method is journaling, where the chosen one can write down their darkest thoughts and insecurities, turning them into concrete words. Writing about your fears and confronting them on paper takes away some of the power they hold in your subconscious. The process of putting these emotions into words helps make the intangible more manageable, creating space for transformation. Have you ever tried writing about your fears and noticed how they start to lose their strength? Sometimes when we look directly at what haunts us, we find it's not as scary as it seemed. Facing these parts of yourself is undoubtedly painful. But the Chosen One knows that without this confrontation, there's no real growth. True integration of these shadows occurs when you realize they are part of your whole self. They can be transformed into sources of wisdom, protection, and strength. Imagine a warrior who, after years of fighting, finally understands that their greatest enemy was always within them. By making peace with that enemy, they become invincible. Thus, by integrating their shadows, the Chosen One becomes stronger and more prepared to fulfill their greater mission. Now, with the shadows integrated, it's time to turn these apparent weaknesses into true strengths. After facing and integrating their shadows, the Chosen One uncovers a powerful truth. What were once seen as weaknesses can actually become their greatest strengths. This is where resilience comes into play. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back from challenges, but growing from them. For the Chosen Ones, this means reinterpreting negative experiences and using them as fuel to keep pushing forward in their mission. What used to hold you back is now the source of your strength. Imagine someone who has always been afraid of failing, paralyzed by the thought of not being good enough. By confronting this shadow, they realize that fear isn't the enemy, but a teacher. This fear taught them to be more careful, to prepare better, and to plan more thoroughly. What seemed like a weakness turns into an ability to pay attention to details. Thus, the Chosen One understands that every negative experience, every challenge, is packed with valuable lessons. It's not the circumstances that define the Chosen One, but what they do with them. Resilience, then, is the ability to turn suffering into wisdom. Every blow life deals becomes a chance to grow stronger. Throughout the journey, the Chosen One will face moments that test them to their limits. However, those who persevere, who keep going despite the difficulties, find that their weaknesses become their supports. Have you ever wondered, what if the time you struggled the most was what best prepared you for your biggest triumph? Often, it's in falling that we find the strength to rise stronger. This transformation of weaknesses into strengths is what sets the Chosen One apart from others. They understand that obstacles aren't there to stop them, but to shape them. And it's this resilience that allows the Chosen One not only to keep moving forward, but also to inspire others to do the same. The journey of personal overcoming thus becomes a source of power for their greater mission. And by turning their shadows into light, they prepare for the final step, using all this inner strength to impact the world and fulfill their purpose. But how exactly does this personal growth empower the Chosen One to carry out their greater mission? We'll find out in the next section. Now that the Chosen One has learned to recognize, face, and integrate their shadows, turning weaknesses into strengths, they are ready to fulfill their greater mission. This internal confrontation wasn't just a process of self-discovery, but also one of empowerment. By overcoming their own limits and fears, the Chosen One becomes a stronger and more self-aware version of themselves, ready to make a meaningful impact on the world. After all, how could you guide others or fulfill a greater purpose without first winning your own internal battles? The mission of the Chosen One is not just personal but collective. Every shadow integrated, every fear overcome, resonates in the world around them. By facing their own challenges, the Chosen One develops the ability to see the pains and insecurities of others, becoming a true beacon of hope. When you overcome your shadows, your inner power overflows and begins to positively affect everyone around you. Have you noticed how people who face and overcome their challenges serve as inspiration to those still on their path? That's the mission of the Chosen One. Not just to overcome their own shadows, but to help others do the same. The impact of facing shadows is much deeper than it might seem at first glance. It not only strengthens the Chosen One individually, but also enhances their ability to make lasting changes in the world. This happens because personal transformation reflects the transformation the Chosen One wishes to see in the world. Imagine someone who has spent years battling their insecurities, finally finding inner peace. This person, now strengthened, begins to guide others on their journeys, multiplying the positive impact of their own transformation. What if it were you, someone who has walked this path, helping others awaken to their true potential? When the Chosen One faces their shadows, They are finally ready to fulfill their destiny. This process of personal growth is the foundation upon which their entire greater mission is built. The shadows that once paralyzed them have now become their greatest source of strength and wisdom. And this strength isn't just for themselves, but for the world around them. With their shadows integrated and their weaknesses transformed into power, the Chosen One is finally prepared to walk the path that will lead them to their ultimate purpose. And now that this internal journey has been faced, the question remains: how will you use this new strength to leave your mark on the world? Now you know that the shadows you carry don't have to be enemies. They can be transformed into your greatest strengths, but it depends on a choice only you can make. What will you decide? Will you keep letting these fears and insecurities dominate your life? Or will you take control and fulfill the destiny you were chosen for? Remember, the fight against the shadows is an ongoing journey, but every step you take towards self-knowledge and overcoming brings you closer to the greater mission waiting for you. And this mission isn't just about you. When you face your shadows, you light the way for others who are also stuck in the dark. The world needs chosen ones who have the courage to transform themselves from the inside out and then transform the world around them. Are you ready to be that person? Share in the comments which shadows you've already identified and how you're planning to face them. Remember to like the video if it inspired you, and of course, subscribe to the channel to keep following this journey of self-discovery and transformation. Don't forget, this battle is yours, but you're not alone in it. Together, we can turn fear into strength, doubts into action, and shadows into light.